Shy Bro, Father James with Father Hank Lyon.
Hey!
So Father Hank had the privilege of, on his day off, today, going flying.
Going flying.
And actually flying a plane.
Yes, for a few moments I was flying the plane.
I thought did the pilot say all right, Father Hank, take the stick, and it was like beep beep, beep go
Not
down.
that stick.
So what was it like? What are the spiritual lessons here to flying?
Wow. Well, let's first unpack the flight itself and maybe dive into the spirituality.
Which by the way, I've never had a parishioner invite me flying, so that's pretty good for your first 3 months. I mean, I've been on a parishioner's boats. That's it.
Helicopter?
No helicopter. No private jet. Nothing like that.
So just a first shout out to Lou and Janet. Thank you again for an awesome ride.
Thanks,
in
Lou
the
and
sky.
Janet.
So we flew out of Palwaukee on a little Piper Archer number 3 and flying downtown. Just amazing, just to get a whole sense of just the flying culture. You have to kind of tap into the control tower and communicate with them what you're going to be doing, but just the whole view is just amazing. As you take off on a commercial flight, you get like a few moments before you're above the clouds to kind of soak in the city and the sights, but when you're in a little plane, you're just staying below those clouds and you get the full view of the lake, all the skyscrapers, and it's just the best view.
You were like flying atop Mount Tabor in the clouds of the Transfiguration.
Right.
What was the difference between flying like on a commercial United Airlines flight versus this individual one?
This one's a lot more fun because everything is kind of happening right in front of you in the cockpit of seeing all the controls. Now, this was a more modern little plane, so it had the screens instead of all the dials. So you see,
were you side by side with this guy? You
side by side
behind him,
and
like
you
World War II cockpit. Yeah.
And you have the headphones on, so he's speaking to you in the headphones, and you have the mic right in front of you, and you're listening also into the control towers talking to you. So everything is just kind of live in the moment, and you're feeling all the movements.
Were you using the pilot lingo? Like
he was.
Roger?
I didn't know. I had no idea.
Mayday.
Yeah.
So you said everything's more immediate, right?
Yeah.
And
so when
in control.
When he gave me the controls, I was expecting a little bit more like driving a car. Like you have to make it's similar. You have to make little adjustments, but those adjustments happen so quickly. But when I made a little adjustment, there was this like 2-second delay, and the whole plane would kind of dip, like to the left, to the right. It's like, whoa, okay, you gotta like steady it again. But it was really funny when he gave me the controls. I noticed the plane was like going down. I thought
that was
it. Wait a minute,
Yeah.
like shouldn't it not? How do you know? Oh right, you gotta pull. So I like pull it up.
Father
and
Hank,
it goes
we
back
only
up.
have one parachute.
One shot here. You want to focus here?
One parachute. Yeah.
So kind of like the video games were coming back in my brain.
Oh
you have to pull up. And then
Pilot Wings. Did you ever play Pilot Wings?
No.
Yeah. Man, I forgot about that game.
But constantly you have to be looking ahead of you and to be making small adjustments to stay level and balanced. Otherwise, you can get lost, or you can lose your heading, or the plane could dip. Even though you want to just be taking in all the sights.
I kind of what the image that's coming to me is so like going to mass and participating in public sacraments and public devotions versus like private individual prayer. When you said it was more immediate as opposed to flying on like a commercial United Airlines flight, like when we go to mass or with like the giant congregation, right, we can just kind of sit back, relax, take a nap, wait for the stewardess to bring a
cocktail.
And you're not really as engaged when you're doing your private individual prayer. You're noticing much more the movements of the Spirit. The movements of the Spirit might be working on you, like during the Mass and in the homily or whatever, but you might not feel them. You might not feel the turbulence so much, but when you're praying by yourself in the chapel or whatever, you feel it right away, and it's important to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's kind of like after the flight, there was so much to talk about or to kind of unpack. Same with the Mass. You can go to the Mass and just be hit with everything that you're familiar with, but like you're saying, the Holy Spirit is working on you during the Mass, but it might take some time during the week to unpack what the Spirit was moving on in you.
You said you got a little sick, didn't you?
I got a little dizzy. Kind of the motion sickness of just, there's, like I said, you feel the bumps a little bit more immediately, and then the tight turning too. Just not being used to those angles or the altitude. Yeah.
What, so you didn't Ralph?
No, Ralph. No, I kept my composure.
What, I'm trying to think of, aren't there some bishops who have to fly?
Ralph.
No, who are
Ralph during mass.
who are priests up in like Alaska or whatever.
They all get their pilot's license because the parishes are just so remote from each other, and there's just a lot of islands in Alaska too, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've flown. Actually, trying to come to think of it.
Yeah, especially with the COVID.
Yeah, the shutdown. But I always find it fascinating when it's a cloudy day and you take off, and then as soon as you break through that cloud layer and then you see like a blue sky, I think of like, here's another spiritual connection with desolation. So you might be like on the ground when you're in desolation and you see gray clouds and a leaden sky above you, and you think, it's dark and heavy and all that stuff, and or you've sinned and God doesn't love you anymore and you're a terrible person. But when you pray or you fly and you can break out of that cloud level and you see, okay, it's actually, there's something beyond that, I don't know, the stratosphere or whatever, of that's consistent, God's love for me, his unconditional mercy upon me, that is greater than just the immediate desolation that I'm feeling. So sometimes when you pray, it takes you out of that that cloud layer. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I gotcha.
Yeah. So what else? Any other
strikes the brain?
Yeah.
It might be a small thing, but the trees are turning color for autumn, and sometimes I notice like only maybe 1 or 2 trees are turning color, but when you get up in the air, it's kind of this beautiful, like it's slowly taking over. Like the colors are slowly changing all over, and you get that better perspective of how it's slowly changing over, like a greater square mileage, if you will.
Oh yeah.
So even though like immediately on the ground, like 1 tree is changing color, it's amazing, but when you get above, you see the whole thing is slowly moving. So just, I don't know if it's small problems or big things going on in the world. When you get above and in prayer, you ask for God's perspective on things going on in your life, and you see that larger perspective of just how things, even on a grand scale, they're slowly moving in that natural pattern.
I like that. That's the gift of wisdom, right? To kind of see the whole picture at once from God's view. Yeah. Well, maybe you'll take me flying.
Why?
And who are the parishioners' names again?
Lou and Janet.
All right, Lou and Janet. Way to go. Thanks for not killing Father Hank and bringing him back safely. God bless you.
Peace.